One. Spags, the Puppy 3 has finally arrived. It's August 1st. We have $1 million prize pool, $200K up top. Are you ready to blast off?
I mean, I'm so excited. I couldn't even sit for this episode today because we are going to hit the Puppy 3, as Pete mentioned. We also got a lot of training camp updates. Deshaun Watson suspension is in. We're going to talk about that and the Week 1 NFL DFS salaries because we got to keep betting on football when best ball ends. So we're going to touch on that and even draft our top salary plays on Draftkings right after this intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Splash Play, the fantasy football podcast for every game under the sun. And once again, I'm Chris Spags, joined by your friend of mine, Pete Overzet, fresh off his SiriusXM debut. Pete, how are you doing, and how did it go?
It went good. I've been marveling at, I thought you moved to like a different room in your house. You're on vacation. I mean, the fact that you got your textbook screen and thumbnail up behind you on vacation, I can't even fathom going to that kind of effort outside of my usual setup.
Well, I saw that it's, you can see on the remote, actually, I think I might have moved the remote out of the background to look more professional. It's over here now. It's got the little Chromecast thing on it, Pete. So you just got to pull up the image, Chromecast the screen. That's a little pro tip if you want to get that same setup for yourself in your new home.
I am actually a little worried. I've been trying to, time our, like when we're having the movers come and trying to figure out having enough time to get my setup in, having to think through Ethernet and all the cable and all that stuff. So I'm a little nervous about transferring my setup. I've even gotten some concerns from people who said they have grown, very accustomed to this current setup, worrying about kind of a permanent change. So lots of pressure coming my way.
I think it's an opportunity. Like, I really enjoyed setting up my new studio in my home. As you saw the process, Pete, firsthand, along with you guys, if you watched Splash Play during the NFL season, where I was in a new room in our new house in November, had an ugly yellow paint job that kind of worked because it looked like our Splash Play colors, and that's something we never mind brand-wise. But then I got to improve it, make it better, add my LED lights. Like, you got to tear it down and start from scratch, Pete, and I think rebuild the whole house in your image.
Yeah, the other thing, and I was mentioning this morning, I haven't decided exactly where my office is going to be. There's like a smaller room in our basement that would, I think, be good for a studio, but it's just like, do I want to spend all of my life in this small room that's even smaller than my office here? Or do I like go upstairs and try to convert a bedroom with more lights and stuff like that? So I don't know. I'm going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot to figure out here, of course, with the NFL as well. So make sure you are following us on @SplashPlayPod. We crossed over 1,000 followers on their tweet. Now people are following us left and right. So the big stretch goal we have to hit. I don't know if you saw it, Pete, our pal Eric Beimfor, Rob Coakley, Silas over at Spike Week. Those guys now in the hallowed grounds of YouTube monetization because they've gotten 1,000 subs. And Pete, we're still about 65 short or so. So we need to make that final push here. And I'm in our bedroom right now. I'll do OnlyFans content on YouTube if we have to. If that gets us over the 1,000 subscriber threshold, I think at this point we got to put all things out there that we can possibly do.
I believe I did the math last week and we were 82 away. And now, if I'm doing the math correctly, we're 66 away. So we are getting close. I'm going to post it here in the chat. You are one of the 113 people watching this live and not subscribed to the Splash Play account. Nothing will make Spags happier than this account getting to 1K. I know he's just chomping at the bit to add some Cialis ads to our content. Please give him the ultimate gift this summer in getting us to 1,000 subs.
I just want the freedom, Pete, to be doing 11 p.m. streams, for have you be baffled by how many streams I'm doing on that channel and making ones and ones of dollars per stream that we can share the profits of. I think that's always been the goal we wanted for the show.
Yeah, on Ship Chasing, Gretsch made a highlight clip for us to roll when we draft a certain player. I won't reveal that now, but he was asking me, he's like, he had a song he wanted to use for it. And he's like, is this going to demonetize it? And I was like, you know what, Gretsch, the 1 out of every 4 streams where we have to roll this and demonetize and take that $11.13 of YouTube ad revenue out of our pockets, I think that's a trade-off we can make.
Yeah, so that's the kind of quality content that you're going to get from Pete and myself here. Of course, the Ship Chasing guys as well. But we appreciate all of you tuning in here. So let's get into it, Pete. We got some training camp news. Deshaun Watson gets a 6-game suspension. I think a lot of the process throughout, I think we talked about him getting an 8-game suspension. I think that was where it seemed like some of the tea leaves were going. Then the rumors started to swirl that he could miss the entire season. A lot of outrage on Twitter right now. And the NFL has shown sometimes that they will bend to outrage with these suspensions. But it feels like, Pete, after all the time that's been doing, all the judges actually ruling over this, It seems like we're locked in now to a 6-game suspension. So what do you think happens to Deshaun Watson's ADP from here?
Yeah, I mean, we already have the perfect use case in that we have the puppy 3 that launched, basically immediately after this news. So we're going to get a really good, accurate reflection. I've seen someone in the Discord mentioned he went at 59 in one of their drafts. I think the more reasonable range I've seen him settling in is the 10th, 11th round, kind of after the Carr Stafford kind of tier. He's been settling in there. I could see him creeping up a little bit more. We collectively just start to kind of talk ourselves in to things once we feel more comfortable. Okay, Watson, if we didn't have any suspension, I think you could justify him going around the Hurts tier. So the whole question is, how much do you want to discount those 6 weeks you're not getting that production? So yeah, I think the market's going to slowly inch him up. It's a much more interesting conversation for Best Ball Mania 3, where it's just, 45% of the way full and a ton of teams who have him really cheaply there. So I'm going to be much, much more careful with how I approach Watson in BBM3 than I am with Puppy, which case, you're fair to draft him, at ADP value there and not really have to worry about super teams.
Anybody wide receiver wise who you feel more comfortable drafting now? I know Mari Cooper has been a guy that you've been down on. I also have been taking very much of. Donovan Peoples-Jones sort of surge up a little bit at the end of the drafts, whether it be Best Ball Mania or Draftkings, or I'm sure it's going to be in the Puppy as well because of positive training camp reports for him. But is there anybody who would give a meaningful boost to in terms of your exposures in that Cleveland Browns receiver core?
Yeah, I still prefer to play it more on the cheap side, which means passing on Amari. I mean, the nice thing is everything else in that offense is cheap, including Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson. I think we have David Bell, DPJ, Njoku. All those guys are going to move up, but I still think they're a cheap way to play it. And I still think, if you want a galaxy brain, you're Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson stacks. I mean, I think there's, Will Fuller's a mercurial guy, why he's been holding out and there hasn't been much news. It could just be a reflection of his personality, where his headspace is at, or he could have been waiting for this Watson domino to fall, because if he wants to return to play with Watson, if he was going to get a year suspension, that completely ruins that. So if he's waiting to see what this was, like, that adds up to me. And so I think Fuller is also interesting in that range. And I was talking about this with Herzig on a space a little bit before, but like, if Fuller signs there, it ruins the DPJ dream. Like, DPJ is dead on arrival if Fuller signs there. So that's something I'm paying attention to.
We just got Tarek Bryan and our pal Bullock in the chat saying Njoku is the ultimate smash and asking if Njoku should surge. I think Njoku, to me, like the price tag come up a little bit. I feel like I haven't seen as many positive camp reports on him so far. Maybe I've been paying enough attention to the Cleveland beat, but I feel like based on the contract, I kind of thought he was going to take a jump upwards and be one of those guys that gets a lot of headlines. And I don't know, Pete, I haven't seen enough about Njoku where I have a lot of faith there, though it makes sense like that he would sort of take a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, I think he will. I think it's just it's less about Njoku and more that there's kind of just a log jam at tight ends in that range. Basically, once you get to kind of the Irv Smith and Gesicki, we've seen Noah Fant and Gerald Everett push up a little bit, Akui Boonham slide down a little bit because of the Dolchitz love, but there's a lot of guys in that range that are pretty attractive as tight end twos. And so I think he's kind of just getting lost in the shuffle. It's hard to imagine any of those guys kind of really busting out of that tier and joining, Knox and Goddard in that other range.
Other news coming out, Deebo Samuel signs one of the top 5 richest wide receiver contracts in the NFL, and worth up to almost $73.5 million. Guarantee is going to be $58 million there, so a big number going his way. A guy that a lot of the advanced analytics now are starting to really beat home that point of him, how much better he was than everybody else in the league last year in terms of yards after catch. I believe there was something I saw today where he was like one of the first receivers to have 1,400 receiving yards and 500 rushing yards or something. So Deebo, a lot of positive news behind him, and I feel like at this spot, Pete, you sold me on taking Deebo ahead of Mike Evans. I feel great about that now, especially with the Julio Jones news and Chris Godwin being healthier than expected. So that was the right move. I've kind of thought this entire draft period that Deebo's been getting a little bit of a discount because of people being afraid of the holdout or a trade. Now that he's locked in, I feel like he's going to come up ADP wise, and I feel fantastic about having almost 20% Deebo for myself.
I mean, I'm very high on Deebo. I'm just trying to think, were people really not drafting him because of holdout concerns? I guess I just always thought it was people being like, oh, he says he doesn't want to run the ball as much. Oh, he was a product of Jimmy Garoppolo and getting a lot of high value touches. I thought it was more kind of just uncertainty of Trey Lance, this offense, him becoming more of a pure wide receiver. We also are getting a ton of Ayuk buzz as well. So it's probably a lot of factors holding him down, but the thing that's hard for me is that that second round is pretty gross, honestly, for wide receivers. And I do think Debo is just the best of that bunch. I prefer him to CeeDee Lamb. I definitely prefer him to Evans. I prefer him to Tyreek Hill. So I've just ended up with a lot of him. And it's just, we want exposure to this 49ers offense, and the range of outcomes for what Lance can do for this team is so big. And if we hit that upper percentile outcome via Lance, you just know Debo's going to be a big part of it. So yeah, I feel very good about my Debo exposure. The only thing that you could maybe push back against it is like, he's not going to probably get more expensive. It's not like we're going to get incredible ADP closing line value on him, but he's just one of those guys I routinely think is the best pick in the back half of the second round.
I mean, it could be because I was drafting like a sicko early on in the draft period, but he was going around the 15 spot initially, then fell to 18, 19. So obviously not a huge ADP drop, but enough where it does change your line configurations a little bit, depending on the rooms you're in. So I think he gets back up to that CeeDee Lamb range. Our guy Paul, I was inverted, who you see drafting in a lot of these streams with us on the show. Debo should be right where Lamb is, he says. I think that's going to be a take a lot of people have, but we'll find out in the coming weeks. So other camp reports I saw out there, Pete, Chase Claypool hurt his shoulder on Friday. Mike Tomlin expects to be probably not serious was the exact quote, but George Pickens looks pretty good without him. I've been beating these bags of George Pickens now a lot the last few weeks. I think he looks great in camp. There's some highlights out there on Twitter if you want to search him out for Pickens, and I think a fan cam one of him making a sick like back shoulder grab. I'm in on Pickens, but I'm also not too worried about Claypool, a shoulder injury. I know he had shoulder issues in the past, but he's going to be able to stay in shape. Like, it's not a lower body injury. It's not something that's going to knock him out like the knee injuries some guys have had so far. So do you have any thoughts on the Claypool Pickens situation, or anybody going up for you or going down, or are they both just kind of staying flat?
Yeah, I mean, how I've been approaching all these drafts is I'm willing to take on the injury risk if it comes with a discount. So I guess that's probably how I'll be processing it. Are we going to get a little dip here because of this Claypool shoulder stuff? I mean, drafters on Underdog have been very reactive to news, for better or worse. So I kind of look forward to these situations. Nothing I read about it made it seem like there's kind of big time concerns for his availability this season. So yeah, I'll probably just use it as a buying opportunity. And again, when you think about these little micro windows for drafting, maybe George Pickens gets pushed up a little too much during this range because of the Claypool stuff. So I kind of just like buying and selling the news in these little windows. And my guess is stuff will kind of correct back to normal in a few weeks once Claypool's ready to go again.
So one bad camp report that I retweeted this weekend, which actually ended up getting, I had to mute the thread because I got Eagles fans that were starting to reply and be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But it's a WIP report. It's a local Philly radio station that does cover the Eagles pretty thoroughly. It was from Elliott Shore Park saying, negative report from Eagles camp. Jalen Hurts through 3 practices, 36 for 51, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Felt he had a really strong first practice, but the passing offense has been disappointing the last 2 days. Very little success at anything beyond 10 yards. And Pete, this is something to me that I think is going to make people buy that Eagles stack less. I've kind of felt like the Eagles stack was a little bit overvalued because of what we saw at the end of last season, where they were getting so much success running that ball. Limiting Hurts' risks, I think, is something that's important to them. But I think overall, Pete, I think you're not going to read too much into this one. I still believe that this is the way the Eagles win, is just limiting Jalen Hurts' overexposure, keeping him short throws, run the ball more. Doesn't mean A.J. Brown can't get there. Doesn't mean Devonta Smith can't get there. 2 great yards after catch guys. But I feel like the overall Eagles stack, like taking 2 guys, onslaughting the stack, taking Quez Watkins, I don't have a lot of faith in that. And I feel like these reports kind of make me feel that I might have been on the right track all along.
Wait, why are you bearish on the cheaper versions of the stack?
So basically, like, he can't throw the ball more than 10 yards, which is like the whole kind of supposition that people have made why he's going to take the leap this year, is that he's going to throw the ball deep. He's going to be slinging it more. Like, A.J. Brown could get fed. Devonta could be fed. Quez could get fed. Goddard could be fed. I don't think that's the case. And I feel like I've said that a few times on the show, and I know you pushed back, and you might push back here, but I just don't think he's a deep ball guy, and I don't think that's how they win.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, Nick talking about how reliable that reporter is with that report too. And I mean, the opinions on Hurts as just a thrower have been always very polarized. And so, the things I'm hanging my hat on, and, and I heard Karain talking about this too, was they started out the season incredibly fast last year. They were one of the more pass heavy teams, and then they just completely reverted it and went running back heavy. But I think the addition of AJ Brown has to mark some kind of fundamental difference in how this team plays. Like, they've really beefed up their pass catching. I do expect Devonta Smith to take a second year leap. Goddard's a top 10 tight end, and they have a great talent in the running back room too. So I kind of am more willing to fade the noise on, beat reporters trying to, film grind their way on how Hurts is looking, and trust that this offense has the talent and kind of the innovative coaching, to really get the most out of it, is kind of the bet I'm willing to make. So I don't know. It's always hard to, separate signal from noise with these training camp reports, but I guess I'm reluctant to rely on this beat reporters
I do have
analysis.
to say, Nick here, I think revealing his bias. Only Eagles reporter I have blocked, and I'm an Eagles fan. I guess I was reading that as blocked him, but still not great relationships there for Nick. So maybe a little bit of bias. And Alex Berg also saying, side note, imagine being a reporter that charts pass attempts and targets in training camp. A lot of these guys are doing it now because they understand that the fantasy community, the betting community, is what gives them a boost in their following. So I think it's actually fun, Pete. I'm pro these guys. They want to be amateur stat takers in every sort of training camp. I'm happy to read them all.
No, I actually prefer that. I believe I remember it was a couple years ago. The first ones to do it was one of the New England beats, and they were someone was charting air yards, I think, at a New England practice. But at least that's tangible data, that I think is interesting. Like, hey, which one of these running backs they caught X amount of passes? And then you can kind of compare that relative to the other backs and stuff like that. Having actual tangible information, I think, is helpful versus a guy being like, oh yeah, this guy looks like he's in the best shape of his life. That's where I don't know what we're supposed to do with that.
Positive camp reports as well. I'm going to try to do this fast, Pete, because I know we got to get to the Puppy 3 draft. Of course, drafting for the $1 million prize pool on there in a little bit. Elijah Moore looks ready to take the next step after an impressive rookie season, according to The Athletic. He's had the most success on deep passes, both from Zach Wilson and Flacco. Moore is likely in line to be Wilson's number one target, at least to start the season. They all say that Corey Davis has been targeted the most overall, but not quite looking as impressive. Garrett Wilson also looking perfectly good as well. But Elijah Moore, Pete, you were beating the drums for him last year. I think kind of the hype around him has slowed down a little bit because of drafting Garrett Wilson. I think I've seen him come down a little bit in ADP, but I love Elijah Moore. And I think this news makes me feel really good about the exposure I have his way. It makes me feel good about that week 17 game against Seattle. Elijah Moore, though, where are you standing on where he's currently getting drafted?
I mean, I like both of them. I think just cost adjusted, you have to like Garrett Wilson a little bit more. I mean, he's just so cheap for a wide receiver with his prospect and his prospect profile and his draft capital. I mean, I'm excited about Drake London too. I'm excited about Burks, but the fact that there's such a spread between these guys and Garrett Wilson right now, and I think it is because of how hyped people are with Elijah Moore. But I don't know why we're making it almost mutually exclusive. Like, the rooms are drafting Tyreek Hill and Waddle both fairly aggressively. Like, if anything, I think Moore is fairly priced and still a good pick at his ADP. But I think Garrett Wilson's mispriced by like 2-3 rounds relative to his teammate and these other rookie wide receivers.
And Corey Davis probably should get drafted more or get drafted. I don't think highly, but he's certainly the guy that doesn't fit the archetype we look for the most, but another in the best shape of his life guy, according to some of the other reports from Jets beat guys. So I'm willing to take Corey Davis, but I'm with you. I think Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore is definitely the two-man stack you want. And one Athletic headline I'll bring to you, Pete, before we do our salaries draft for week 1 of NFL DFS. The headline of the Athletic: do the Falcons stink? They know you think that, and they're not happy. It's a joke, says the Falcons. I just love seeing positive Falcons buzz. Pete, Kyle Pitts thinks they're going to the Super Bowl. Olamide Zaccheaus thinks they're making the playoffs. I'm buying into the Falcons. They're talking. Arthur Smith was apparently saying, like, oh, read old articles about the iPhone. Nobody believed in the iPhone either, which is a hilarious marketing tool. I love the Falcons. You know this, Pete. I've touted them time and time again, but any love for the Falcons being compared to a 2007 iPhone?
I love Arthur Smith comparing himself to the late Steve Jobs too. I mean, that seems like a very flattering comparison for him. Yeah, I mean, the Falcons are a tough one, right? Because, and we've been running into this in some of our main event drafts. It's a little easier in a one-off best ball draft where, there's good prices on all these guys. I think Pitts is a value. I think London's a value. I think Algier is a nice pick. I like taking Ritter very late in drafts. And yet at the same time, it's really hard to envision scenarios where this offense can support all of those guys. And I think the more likely outcome is we get a nuclear season from one of Pitts or London and those guys smash. But I'm still having trouble kind of reconciling liking all these individual prices, but just being realistic about what this offense can accomplish. And even if Mariota is hitting his stride, it's going to be a lot of designed runs and a lot of scrambling. And so I just wonder how to really reconcile those two things against each other.
All right, well, so we'll see how that reflects in the week one salaries draft. And Consigliere in the chat, one of our regulars, saying this is a fun news and notes. Spags is confirming his priors, then asking Pete if he should have these priors or not. I am obsessively tracking the news, Pete. I'm on vacation. I'm refreshing the Athletic every minute that I possibly can just to stay up on everything because it is coming hot and heavy. And I feel like I've never seen this much training camp reporting where they realize this is a cottage industry now and everybody's got their beat guys out there. And I love this time of year now. I'm so excited. And any shares I got of anybody that's like a positive training camp report, I'm like instantly erect. That's what I will say.
Well, yeah, Nick Redmond, I should pull this up. He had this tweet the other day after the Julio thing, which was so true. I think he pinned it. Here, I'll pull this tweet up because it speaks to the sentiment that you just shared here. And he said, who cares if Julio Jones scores a single point? If you got him in the 18th round, the dopamine release watching his ADP surge is worth more than the $2 million. And there is like such truth to that. I mean, just playing the stock market with these guys, and it is totally on paper gains. You are not cashing out your Julio Jones closing line value, but I'm with you. It feels so fucking good. And it's hilarious where we dismiss any training camp reports that don't reflect our bags or, don't confirm our priors. And then the ones that do, it just feels so, so good. So yes, it is one of the funnest things about having a portfolio is just processing news through your hyper biased lens and loving every minute of it.
And victory lapping takes that haven't even occurred yet correctly. It's the other fun part of it. But the week one salaries, Pete, I'm going to give you the floor first so we can hit this fast, getting bonked for my look. Sometimes you get a wreck just reading NFL news. That's life. The week one salaries, anything stand out to you meaningfully? I'll give you the first pick so you could sort of set the tone because I did cover it briefly on the Friday Spags solo stream. So you guys saw me build some lineups there. And we're going to try to do that more on the show. But does anybody really jump out to you as being an obvious 101 in terms of salary versus what you think they could be doing in NFL week one DFS?
Yeah, I mean, the first one for me is the quarter. I think Trey Lance at 6K is pretty absurd. I mean, if we kind of use, best ball ADP as like a bit of a proxy here, knowing what these rushing quarterbacks can do, like I don't think there's any reason he shouldn't be up here, at least in the Jalen Hurts range at 6,800. 6,800, 7,000. So a pretty big discount here. I mean, he's priced similarly to Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Cousins. I mean, his upside just blows those guys out of the water.
That was actually a guy that I was going to draft as well. I think the Niners stack is pretty appealing. It's not a great 42 point over under for week one versus Chicago, but you do have Brandon Ayuk as well as George Kittle under 6K. I'm going to add in Debo as my 101, 7,400 for him. I think it's a similar thing that I think he's a little bit underpriced because of some concern that he just might not be out there. Obviously, DK is pricing this a little bit closer to when the contract seemed like it was going to happen, but I think this Trey Lance Debo stack to me just has a lot of appeal. So I would take Debo here. Another guy I'm going to throw in, Pete, because I guess I have the pick on the turn. Rondale Moore at 4K, 24% targets per route run last year, was also seeing just 30 snaps per game. He's got to play more, you would think, without Marquise Brown still getting up to full health right now. We also have no DeAndre Hopkins for the first part of the season. I think it's a nice spot for Rondale Moore. So 4K flat for him against Kansas City, highest total of week one so far, according to Vegas. I feel like Rondale Moore could be one of those sneaky smash plays at 5X his value right away.
Yeah, I like that one. The chat is coming in so loud and strong about Kadarius Toney. Easy's threatening to unsubscribe if I don't say Kadarius Toney. And so, this morning on my Best Ball Mania 3 stream, I rugged everyone by, shotgunning the draft before they could get into it. Now I need to make amends. Here's my peace offering. I'm putting Kadarius Toney in after getting bullied by the chat. I agree. That's a ridiculous price at 4,100.
Got so this lineup here, a lot of savings so far. You got another pick though, Pete. So any running backs jump out to you at all?
Yeah, I was going to say Saquon Barkley, just way too cheap down here at 6,100. I mean, again, like just even looking at ADP with him going in the second round, he should at least be in this Joe Mixon, James Conner, DeAndre Swift tier up here, Aaron Jones. So he's mispriced by a good bit. There's just no reason. I think it's like 13 running backs are ahead of him in cost. So I'll definitely exploit that here, and we'll load up on the Giants. Maybe you get us a Tennessee bring back here, buddy.
So the Tennessee bring back, I don't even know what that would be, but I have to say Baltimore is one running back situation that I think I'm intrigued by just because we don't know Gus Edwards and also J.K. Dobbins, who is falling in every draft room I'm in. I'm getting a crazy amount of J.K. Dobbins and best ball drafts right now. But if those guys don't play week one, Pete, you have Tyler Beatty and Mike Davis both at 4,400. I'm going to say,
let's ruin lineup. This is a good lineup. You're trying to put I love Tyler Beatty, but we're not putting him in our fucking week one DFS lineup, Spags. I'm submitting this. I'm putting this in after this. You don't put Mike Davis in here.
Well, I mean, Tyler Beatty at 4,400 a pass catching back if both those guys are out
No,
against the Jets.
no, it's just you're getting way too cute. Just forget about it. Come on,
I,
make a good pick. We have 5,600 average. We can even put in a defense.
I mean, what about, okay, I do think relative to price points, I don't mind paying the 9,100 for Jonathan Taylor in week one either. And you might call me a chalk donkey for this one. I know people are asking for building a cash lineup. I think Taylor at 9,100 is going to be worth that salary at Houston week one. I mean, you got to play him, I think, or the Colts stack, I would say, because they're going to score points.
I love how I just went from Spags touting a running back so fucking off the board. You couldn't even find him on the board to just the stone cold RB1. I mean, what a pivot there.
We saved money. We got to spend it somewhere, Pete. And that's the place we're spending it, Jonathan Taylor, because Lord knows I'm not getting him in best ball enough.
All right, let's see here. Let's put in a cheap tight end. The chat is getting very excited about Irv Smith at 3,400. I can ride with a little Irv Smith at 3,400 to save us some money here. Let's put in a placeholder defense, and then you can pick our flex spot.
People also liked on the Friday stream, people were into the Vikings defense as one of those minimum salary teams that if you're making a bet against the Packers, like maybe they just steamroll them in week one. That's a cheap one that opens up everything, but I don't know who's at 7,700 overall.
Yeah, let's see what that would leave you in the flex. You're looking at Kamara. Ooh, Jamar Chase at 7,100. I mean, how do we pass on Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Tough to leave $600 on the table, but it's week one, I guess. If you're ever going to leave more than $500 on the table, it probably is week one.
Yeah. Will you please beg the chat not to dupe us? I'm putting this in. I'm not touching this lineup. This is, of course, the lineup we made on August 1st that will win us $1 million, Spags.
I love it. I hope so. I mean, we got to win this one way or another, Pete. I think the splash play promise that we're going to give to everybody out there, one of us is going to win 7 figures somehow this year. I think we just have to, to promise.
That's a splash play promise.
It's a promise I give to everyone.
I am not making that promise.
All right, Pete's going to hop into the puppy 3 here, where it is $1 million total prize pool for that one. I'm going to give some other names that jumped out to me in the NFL DFS salaries. The Atlanta stack that we talked about, you have Drake London and Kyle Pitts, both of them $6K. Marcus Mariota, 5,200 at home versus New Orleans. We also have Marquez Valdes-Scantling, 4,700. I thought was kind of appealing. 3K minimum guys, Pete, with some vague interest. I would think Tyquan Thornton, who's been looking good. And did you get the 101? Oh, no, 103. Okay, good. Tyquan Thornton catches some deep balls from Mac Jones. He's 3K flat. Brevin Jordan and Chris Conley, 2 Texans guys who could benefit from no John Mechie. The pricing does reflect John Mechie as though he's going to play. Jordan's 3,100, Conley's 3,300. And then Pete, Romeo Doubs, whose name is pronounced, I don't know if you saw this headline. It's pronounced Dobbs, by the way. He's 3K flat as well.
We over at Ship Chasing, I think we're going to push back on this. I think we're just going to stick with the Dubs. I mean, Dubs is so cool. We throw up the Dubs. I'm just not giving into this. I'm not allowed. It's kind of like when there was ambiguity about if it was Kelsey or Kels. And it's just like, I don't even really give a shit what it actually is. I'm not saying Kels. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not saying Dobbs. It's Dubs. It's Kelsey. And that's just how it's going to be.
It seems like my Chromecast has given up here. That's the downside of being on the road and trying to put things on. So you can see the latest hits on Netflix behind me. We got Pretty Liars. Oh, Pretty Liars original Sid. Who's it's probably a big overlap with our fan base.
No, that when you made the $2 million promise, that was the ultimate Pretty Little Lie there. So
oh, good. High School Musical, the series. Wow, what a treat.
There you go.
God damn it. I want to connect to this and now it's just gone. Now this sweet screenshot's gone, but we are on the clock, Pete. What are we doing here? I think Cooper Kupp goes first. You want to go Justin Jefferson? You want to go McCaffrey?
I feel like Jefferson is the guy I miss out the most on in these top 5 picks. So let's do Jefferson.
All right, I love it. Justin Jefferson, we've talked about a little bit on the show. He and Jamar Chase both think they can go for 2,000 yards this year, and I'm buying in on that one. Also, I have to note, Pete, I did switch my DraftKings avatar to our Splash Play avatar because I was in a room with our guy Dylan, who's sometimes in the chat. He had a Splash Play avatar, and I didn't have one, and I felt like, I'm just betraying us now. So I'm fully on the brand now.
Yeah, my DraftKings avatar is the counselor. I don't think I will ever change it. Unless I win $1 million and I create a DFS site and I really need to market it, then I'll change it to my logo, my new logo.
Well, Pete, I mean, it seems like based on what I said earlier, you have a 50% chance to win $1 million this year.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing of how quickly I could spit up a DFS content site after banking the milli.
I have so one thing I did, Pete, today, which I'm curious your thoughts on. I actually did an Excel spreadsheet to track how many drafts I have to do every day moving forward, just to max out the Puppy 3, to max out Best Ball Mania, and to max out DraftKings $5 Milli Maker. I have to do 7 drafts per day, 47 a week. Have you thought this level of
No,
minutia for yourself?
no, I'm not. I'm on a comfortable pace to max BBM3. I'm gonna get in as many puppies as I can. I'm not. I can't. Best ball. No, Spags. I can't have that hanging over my head. That kind of regimen.
I mean, we have 38 days until the season starts September 8th. So I'm tracking it on Excel because I just need to keep pace. Like I actually did three drafts this morning together. Um, just because I need to know how much I have to do. And I know the puppy threes got a good shot to fill, great prize pool, good yield on all that stuff. So I'm I'm dead set, Pete. I got to max them all. Got to catch them all.
How many of them are you going to multi-table?
Oh, for the puppy? I mean, absolutely. Those are going to be 5 at a time. I think to make sure it gets done. DraftKings, even like the DraftKings UI, as we've talked about a lot on this show, it sucks, but the teams I'm drafting on there are impossible to have an underdog. So I'm locked in on drafting DraftKings. I'll do 2 at a time on there. And BBM, I prefer to do 2 max, but like the puppy, I could do 3 to 5 and not have an issue with it.
And that's where the brick overlay will come in handy when you're blasting off at 5 at a time and need to see those overlays there with the guys you're stacking up will come in very handy. Yeah, you're there. I don't know if you caught this. So Rudman, I was doing a spaces earlier. Nick Rudman from Underdog leaked a little piece of alpha that they're going to have coming soon, a separate BBM3 draft room with faster clocks. He didn't say the exact amount of time, but obviously shorter than 30 seconds, which I am incredibly excited about. It means casual drafters making more mistakes. It means me being able to do drafts in less than 45 minutes. Who knows? Maybe we get down to 30-minute drafts. And for you, Spags, who's trying to do 4,000 drafts before the start of the season, this is going to open up a whole new world of possibility.
I saw the tweet and I saw that Rudman didn't actually reveal what it was, but said it was in spaces, and I didn't know how to see it. So I'm glad that you said that out loud because I would love to do a quick turnaround to one. I know our pal Liam Murphy, of course, last year's Best Ball Mania winner, was talking about he felt like he could do multi-tables and do a shorter clock as well because of his chest brain. I'd love a shorter draft and love more mistakes, but run the clock, Pete. Elite tight end, running back. What do you want to do?
I mean, I'm happy to take Andrews at 210.
Okay, I'm up for it. I have to say, I was kind of sorting out my early projections for week 1, just basically pulling in the Vegas totals and not changing the stats too much or snap counts. Andrews projects insanely well because of just losing all the wide receivers they had last year, which terrifies me. But I think Andrews is a very fun play and a play that I feel really good about when I saw that initial run of projections.
Yeah, he's a guy and I know how much things change, but he was going in the early second of drafts, and that was just a tough click for me. And now that he's back here in the back end of the second round and getting closer to Pitts in price, I mean, I like both of those guys. It was just a harder sell to be like, how do you take Andrews when Pitts is late third, Kittle and Waller going late? But now that we're getting a little bit more of a discount on him, it's interesting to me. All right, Spags, what are we going to do here?
I mean, it's not really a big discount on Fournette. I would take AJ Brown, despite what I said, shit talking the Eagles offense. Like I think AJ Brown could still get there regardless.
Yeah. If this was a BBM3 draft, these exposures you're seeing on the screen are for my BBM3 exposures. I just left them up here. I've been balancing my portfolio there a little bit, but in this puppy 3, my cherry draft here, happy to scoop up AJ Brown at ADP. Paul, real quick on this, Paul was saying, do you think casuals will join the quicker clocks? I was actually talking about that with Hertzik just a few minutes ago. And my thought is yes, because I do think for a lot of people, like how long a draft takes is something that factors in. Like right now, I budget 45 minutes for a draft. But if you know that like you could finish a draft depending on what the clock is, if they do a 15-second clock, I think you could reliably finish drafts in less than 30 minutes. Like even as a casual drafter, if you know you only have a 30-minute window, that all of a sudden adds, more time, to do drafts or to realistically finish a draft. So I do think they'll be interested in it from both casuals and grinders.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I agree. Like, I actually thought there was a very insightful quote with Underdog, what they released last week, of course, did raise a bunch of money there at a nice valuation for themselves. But they were talking about something that I think has stood out to me compared to DraftKings in particular, who's their CEO puts their foot in their mouth. This is more of a lulls conversation. So I'm sure Brick and Pete would have more nuanced takes about it. But that guy, Jason Robbins, puts his foot in his mouth all the time, says things like, oh, we're a media company and people should be playing and be happy to lose money. Fuck that. Like the way that Underdog said it, where it's like, we're a gaming studio. It's basically like a video game. So they'll build their stuff out. They'll give different ways to play play it. I think that's really exciting. So I think what they're trying to do for that, like, it speaks to casuals more, because casuals don't want to sit down for an hour. They want to do 20 minutes and be done, and, like, do it on the shitter basically. I think that's great for everybody in the community. It's great to get new people in. It's great for you guys. I think it'll be more plus EV drafts. Like, I think it seems like a really smart play amidst Underdog doing a lot of smart plays.
Yeah, and I do think there's a way to balance it on the other end, right? Like maybe you do have, and it doesn't quite work with the tournament, but if you did have, beginner drafts, maybe they were a smaller tournament, maybe it's single entry, and that is a minute, clock where it's like, hey, this is your first draft or one of your first 5 drafts, and you want to take the time and feel like you really have enough time to process all that information. But I mean, once you do, like, what do you think's the threshold? I feel like once you've done 25 of these drafts with the same format, I feel like you're so like locked and dialed in that the 30-second clock is almost completely unnecessary.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. And I'm just curious to see the wrinkles they keep rolling out for this home stretch. Like the Underdog Cardio Club is new this year. Of course, Pete had a big part in that, but they're doing a lot of stuff to, I think, be beneficial to players and give you guys different ways to play these things. And I think it's just exciting as somebody that, to me, like, I feel like a lot of the edge has been squeezed out of the main DFS sports for the most part. So playing Underdog, it's obviously Pete's sponsored as could be by them. We have the promo code Splash on here, but I think if you're not playing Underdog right now, you should be. And Pete, I think we might have set a viewership record for live viewers right now. So kudos to us. Pat on the back.
Yeah, everyone heard that you went to such big effort to get High School Musical on over your shoulder that they had to come watch. Although we have breaking news from the chat here. James Washington carted off at Cowboys practice. Willis saying it doesn't look good. I mean, they're already very thin with Michael Gallup. Going to be a little slow coming back from injury. So, I mean, you want to talk about a steamer right now? I mean, Jalen Tolbert is just, he's ready for full on blast off here.
There's one guy who I saw, oh man, it was in the Athletic article, but there's like a 6'6" receiver who's been looking really good in camp too. I feel like Varcher is maybe his last name. I'll look it up in a sec, but I agree with Tolbert. Like, Tolbert was a monster in college. I think it's one thing that's been slept on. Like, he had unreal production at a lower level, but we're on the clock, Pete. So make your pick and I'll look up this receiver.
Yeah, I'm happy with Breece Hall here. Anything else you would vouch for?
Honestly, I haven't taken enough Breece Hall lately because he got steamed up so much. This ADP is now up 15 spots more. It was in Best Ball Media, but we're in the puppy. So if you're going to take Breece Hall, I think taking him in the puppy would be logical.
Yeah, ADP 41.9, grabbed him at 46 here. Still maintain he is going to be a 3rd round pick here in short order. So we'll scoop him up here.
Yeah, I'm seeing, who is this receiver that I was like?
Everyone's saying TJ Vasher. Is that
that's
what you're
it? Vasher. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Vasher. No, yeah, I think it's Vasher. Yeah. So there's like no, that's the short guy. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up here because this is gonna drive me nuts. But there's like one tall guy who's the only tall receiver they have right now on their roster. But Vasher is the one they signed. Yes, who was like very good and great after yards after the
catch. J Mike says OBJ to Dallas. We have a couple. Will Fuller to Dallas. I mean, that would be the nuts, right? That'd be the absolute nuts there. That honestly feels too good to be true. I would love that. Fuller to Dallas one time. Let's do it. Yep.
I mean, that would be great, but I mean, they drafted Tolbert. Like, Tolbert's a pretty high draft capital guy. Like, I don't think it makes the most sense for them. And I'd be bummed. Like, give Tolbert a chance at least, unless you think he sucks in training camp.
No, it's not that. I mean, they're out of, they need bodies. Like, even if they have a somewhat redundant skill set, I mean, they need pass catching weapons in there right now.
All right, fair enough. And we're on the clock, Pete. What are we gonna do?
Oops, I was zoning out. So you know what? I would probably just grab Lamar here to stack up with Andrews.
Yeah, I never have an issue. As I've talked about on the streams, I do think the roster construction explorers say try to take a QB in those first 4 rounds, especially round 5. I think it's a little more malleable. We have Andrews, Jackson. Is there? Yeah, no, Bateman went right before us. Bateman is going to go early in the puppy, huh?
I mean, I don't know. He's a guy that I have a hard time seeing him get pushed up much harder. What? He's normally in this like pick 50 to pick 55 range.
Yep.
And what's his
I think, yeah,
54.8. Yeah, so just a smidge early.
He was going 58-ish, wasn't he, in BBM? I don't know.
Spags, did you see? You had been asking for this. Obviously, this is for BBM 3, but I do now have my average ownership in here.
David Montgomery at 0, huh? Wow. I mean, I know we both are Khalil Herbert guys, but 0 David Montgomery seems surprising given how you draft.
It's true. I thought I had 1 share of him. Maybe it really is 0. Maybe the math doesn't lie.
Also, everybody is right, and I was trying to figure it out. I thought the USFL guy they signed, is it Turpin the one they signed who's like the USFL MVP?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he's the short one. Vasher's the tall one. Okay, we're good. We're good. This is what happens at training camp. Like Pete, I'm sure it's the same thing with you. You're digesting so much information now where it's like these guys and trying to keep track too of these guys that we haven't talked about at all. Like we've talked about Romeo Dubs, so he's in my head. We've talked about some of these other guys. Nathan or TJ Vasher was not a name I even knew existed in the world.
Well, I should know Cavante Turpin because my first video I made on the new Deposit Kingdom YouTube channel was a USFL primer. God, does that feel a long time ago? And I believe I touted Cavante Turpin in that video, and now I'm pretending like I don't even know who he is. So life comes at you fast.
He's more of a special teamer kind of guy. Feels like they're, Dallas had Tavon Austin a few years. I feel like that's more Turpin's kind of brand. Like he's kind of guy that doesn't make the NFL very often because of the size thing. But Vasher being enormous, like they need somebody who's enormous besides Dalton Schultz.
All right, let's get our cue ready. TJ Vasher. Dontario Drummond, Noah Brown. There's so much opportunity, guys, here. If you're not loading up your queue with Dalton Schoen. Okay.
The thing is, you can tell people. I've given you my theory before about the Athletic reporting. Vasher having an ADP at all in the puppy means people are reading the Athletic and taking it as some sort of gospel.
This 80, I don't even know if we've gotten an actual ADP refresh. Like this 41.9, I posted a screenshot of this from BBM3. I'm guessing this is just ADP ported over from BBM3, and we haven't even gotten a puppy refresh yet, would be my guess.
I thought we did because I thought that Breece Hall was a little bit lower. I mean, I haven't drafted as many BBMs. I guess Friday would be the last time I drafted.
Turpin's not even in the player pool.
Well, I mean, maybe he shouldn't be. We're a TJ Vasher family here, Pete.
That's right. I just want you guys to know, I know it's sometimes like a giant billboard on who to snipe us on, but please don't take any of these guys in the queue ahead of me.
Please don't take Dontario Drummond in the 10th round and really get in our heads. Boy, we'd be so disappointed.
Who does Dalton Schoen even play for? Cut loose by Kansas City. I think he's primed to sign with the Cowboys here now with James Washington being carted off.
One thing I was doing in my 3 multi-table drafts on the puppy this morning, I was taking T. Higgins at like 15 through 20 just to fuck with people and drive up the ADP even more. Because on DraftKings, he's got a 30 ADP and that's slowly creeping up. I don't want people to get T. Higgins at like a discount price tag. I want him to be full premium.
Yeah, I like you. You thinking you can throw your ADP weight around and influence thousands and thousands of drafts of data. Nick is, this is the high wire act you tune in for. Quick, let's just scrap them so they auto draft one of those guys. Did Dobbins make it all the way back to us? This is a smash here for us.
Honestly, Dobbins might make it back one more time. I've been getting him in the 80s in some drafts. I don't like people see that out tag, especially on DraftKings, and they just don't want to take a guy.
We're not on DraftKings, Spags. We're on Underdog. These drafters are smart. They're waiting for us to auto draft TJ Vasher so they can scoop up J.K. Dobbins. 10 picks past ADP on a Baltimore stack. I say we locked it up, which we did.
It'd be pretty great if like we did auto draft TJ Vasher and he ended up being worth whatever draft capital we spent on him. Wouldn't be the smartest play, but still be fun.
It'd be as unrealistic as that cash game lineup we submitted into the Millie Maker a month in advance winning. I'm probably Devontae Smith here.
Michael Thomas, Philly correlation.
Fine.
Yeah. Michael Thomas, you got to take some now of because I don't think you were taking a lot of him in BBM.
No, 3%.
Yeah, so like I would say you got to take a little bit now because he's healthy and he's out there and he's actually playing.
Yeah, I just still think if we're trying to chase like a big breakout of it, like I don't know. Do you think Mike Thomas could be a 2nd round pick next year?
No, I mean in terms of a breakout, no. But can he be a guy that makes a portfolio where we took 2 receivers through the first 7 rounds like palatable? I think so.
As long as he scores 30 points in week 17, all is forgiven, Spags.
I mean, the Philly New Orleans week 17, Pete, that's one of the games that people aren't stacking enough if I were to believe a Pete Overs that thumbnail. That was actually Cleveland, Washington, I think, for you.
I hold by that take. That has to be the least stacked game, although that will probably change now.
Yeah.
That's why I got it in good.
So somebody, I've been reluctant. I didn't even bring it to the Friday stream, but somebody on our Discord, who's one of our regulars or one of our newer regulars, DM me an anecdote about Sam Howell that
why are you being shady about their name? Is this your weed dealer thing? You're always so shady. It's like, just say their fucking name.
I won't say their name because I don't want to give away. This is a high school story from this person who went to high school with Sam Howell.
Oh, okay.
Should I share it? Should I share the story? Actually, I think it's one of the people in the chat right now.
All right, share it. This isn't my source.
Okay, so this person says Sam Howell, when he was 15, a sophomore in high school, FaceTime my friend's girlfriend at 1 a.m. with camera pointed at his meat, just beating the shit out of it. And other high schools in the area found out and heard his dick was so small, they would hold their pickies up at games and yell "shrimp dick" every time he was on the field.
Shrimp dick.
So this guy doesn't eat steak. He might have a strip dick, and he's overcompensating with air yards and deep ball throws. Is what Sam Howell is doing for the.
Goodness.
Strip dick Sam, does that have an NFL?
Does have has a very nice ring to it.
But I mean, imagine getting that chat, Pete. Like, you don't have sources like I have now that I've developed that are just solely dick size based.
No, I mean, we cultivate the sources we want, and you clearly are, a magnet for this kind of information.
I'm glad to bring it to the show where we have the most viewers we ever had. By the way, subscribe to Pete's channel. Go subscribe to the Splash Play channel as well if you're new around here, because we're doing best ball drafts right now. We're doing training camp news, but we continue it rolling during the season. NFL, DFS, lots of great guests in the industry, lots of betting. So please subscribe to Splash Play, the best show in fantasy football. Question mark.
So I forget if we talked about this on Monday, but are you going to have Mathology on one of your solo streams after his Tour de Force performance on ship chasing?
So I didn't see it. I didn't watch it. That was one of the weeks I didn't see. I know. I've betrayed you and Pat and Greg.
I think you dropped the ball. That debut performance from Mathology should have been on the Splash Play solo stream with you. And I mean, it wasn't like, we were trying to steal your Mathology thunder. It was just, you sat around on it for so long. He came in with a list of players. He had heavily researched all of these Instagrams. He dictated our picks, weaved us in and out of some very tough pockets of the room, thanks to his, WAG model. And I'm just surprised it wasn't on the solo stream.
Well, I mean, I guess I fucked up. Pete, you know the value of having a solo stream where people show up. So that's what I've been trying to build up for myself, is that people just want to hang out with you. But then Mathology, I think now he's a character on Ship Chasing, so I'd be seen as derivative if I were to have him on.
No, this is ridiculous, Spags. You need to bring Mathology into your wings. He's part of your personal brand. It's part of the voice of that show. I mean, even on Ship Chasing, I mean, it was a little bit of a high wire act. We get iTunes reviews saying like, these guys laugh too much and talk about Friends stuff at the top of the show and don't get into the football. I mean, it was a lot throwing Mathology at them. Whereas on those solo streams, I mean, people expect that kind of smut from you. So I think it's a perfect brand fit.
That's fair. I mean, look, honestly, the solo streams, it's weird. Like, they'll have a certain amount of people to watch, and I appreciate everybody who shows up live on Friday. The after the fact views that I get, Pete, is baffling. Like, I think it's all my thumbnail game. I don't know if you saw this last one. I went Sal Vetri mode, where I noticed Sal is doing like 5-character fucking thumbnails now, where it's like whatever word he puts on there, it'll be like draft or bad. Like, that's it. So I put no RB, 2 question mark, and people are eating it up.
There you go, Spags. You're cracking the algo here. God, there are a ton of running backs available here, to the point where I almost would rather just grab Tyler Boyd or Garrett Wilson.
I feel like we talked about Garrett Wilson, so I would go that way, but I don't mind either.
Yeah, I mean, this room feeling a little avalanche-y here. Let's get out in front of it.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I certainly don't want to take any of those running backs that were available. I feel like we've got, honestly, we could do a borderline hyper fragile with getting Breece Hall and Dobbins at a nice discount.
Yeah, and I'm not even opposed to like CH or Edmonds with one of these next picks as well.
Where are you with Gibson, by the way? Because I forget if we've talked about this out loud on the show, but he fell to 90 in one of the puppy drafts I did this morning. And I'm just taking him because, like, I have enough Brian Robinson, I have enough McKissick to justify it. But, like, I think he should be going 90, but it also feels insane he's going 90 now.
Yeah, I'm with you. It does feel like he should be going in that CEH Miles Sanders range, so it's fair. Yeah, I mean, hang on, let's see here. Oh, I wanted to grab CEH. He goes. Yeah, I'm good with Edmonds is probably like my favorite guy in this range here. What do you think?
I've been trying to get some more Edmonds lately because I didn't get enough early in BBM, and I feel like I have enough Mostert and enough Sony Michel to justify really trying to get Edmonds. So he's one of my 0 RB guys I'm really loading up on lately, so I support it.
Yeah. Someone wants to know, what was the CMC pick on your Friday thumbnail?
So there's a photo. I searched it and he has a photo of him shirtless wearing a cowboy hat for some reason. I don't know why. I'm assuming it's Olivia Culpo ruining his life and career. Would be what mine of the fantasy counselor's guess. But yeah, it was just like I searched Christian McCaffrey and one of the photos that comes up now is him shirtless wearing a child's cowboy hat.
Oh yeah, I've seen that that counselor post. Yeah. Counselor one of counselor's favorite bits is ragging on CMC saying he can't be good at fantasy football because he cares about modeling too much.
Which I agree with. Like I know Pete, the whole bit is like the counselor's an idiot. He's right about this one. You get too distracted at a certain point as a running back who's also kind of fragile. It's not great.
No, that's such a slippery logic slope. So like you go around and comb through every guy's social media feed and if they're not, eating, sleeping, thinking about football 24/7, then all of a sudden they're distracted. Get out of here.
Well, Pete, there's
This
a
is
famous
such a boomer
quarterback.
take. This is like a Colin Coward, just such a fucking boomer take, Spags.
It depends if it's effort like on the field. Like Juju doing shit on the field, like it's annoying, but he's on the field doing things. Like Christian McCaffrey's been out doing fake proms during COVID. He's dressing like one of the characters on Grease. Like he wants to be famous so bad, and I think it's not great. They're also limiting his workload because they know he's super fragile. I think your Deonta Foreman take was the initial right take. Just take him late and just hope something happens with McCaffrey.
What would you rather have? Because you're putting more of a premium on if these guys being publicly distracted. What if under the dark of night, they're going out to the club every night, getting wasted, partying, but you don't ever actually hear any reports about that? What do you
That means
think
that
is
they're a
actually
pro.
worse?
No, that's like a good thing. Like I could tell here's a man that you could look up and, you look up a significant other, a quarterback on the rise, a young man who was traded in the offseason. One Drew Lock. You look up his wife or his significant other, Natalie Newman's page. You know what she's doing, Pete? She's staining lamps in their Seattle apartment because she's busy at home taking care of the home front. Christian Kirk as well. His significant other does all the home shit, takes care of the dog. Those are the people you want. You don't want Christian McCaffrey out here trying to impress Olivia Culpo.
Every time we turn on our TV, as Tyler points out here, Tom Brady's shilling some
He
other
earned that.
product.
He earned that with Giselle. He got there.
He earned that with Giselle. Giselle's the reason he earned that.
Well, like he was so good over a period of time. Giselle comes into his life, brings him even better. I feel like that's where Tom Brady, like if you do this for 10 years, do whatever the fuck you want. Be LeBron, be annoying on social media, post your son all of a sudden growing up fucking 10 inches overnight. That's fine. But like when you're still on the come up and you haven't really achieved anything, I think you play it closer to the vest and show it on the field.
This is such a boomer take.
Anyway,
I can't
catch me
believe
on
you
Fox
have it.
News. Fox News, the new sports show they're doing on there. That'll be where I get to make my debut.
I cannot even imagine the amount of things you would be doing in shilling Spags if you were an NFL athlete in the first or second year of your career. You would be a disaster and you know it. You would be an absolute disaster.
No, I would be one of those guys like, oh, he's first one in the room, last one to leave. Because I'd be terrified of losing by millions of dollars. Like that's the thing that worries me when guys get too cozy because you got that first big contract, especially as a running back who's entering that stage where things get dicey.
You would be trying to hook up with your mom's best friends. You'd be shooting TikToks at you asking people to subscribe to your YouTube channel. You'd be selling some kind of protein powder. We need to get, this avalanche is scary. We need to draft wide receivers.
Devontae Parker has been getting the positive camp reports for the Patriots. I wouldn't mind taking him over Jacoby.
And I don't know if you know. Yeah, there you go. You got to it. You got there.
Week 17 correlation, Pete. That's because what's the only week that matters, Pete?
Week 17.
There we go. But yes, I would say from my perspective, if I were a pro athlete, which obviously we're very far away from, I would be trying really hard and then DMing Instagram models and expect them to show up at 2 a.m. after I put in a hard day on the field and watching film.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. And then these models would all collectively put you on blast on Twitter. And then it would be revealed that Spags is this horn dog sliding into all of these DMs. Spags, you would unravel so quickly. So for you to cast judgment at these players for enjoying their lives is so hypocritical.
I will have to agree to disagree on this one, Pete, I guess, because I think the people just be like, wow, he's trying so hard to practice. I love his highlights. And then he's got that dog in him. Is what they would say, because I'm aggressively DMing everybody with breasts. Instagram.
You're literally proving my point. Let's take Christian Watson here. I don't know if you know, but the Packers play Green Bay in week 17. I know Romeo Dobbs is all the rage right now, but let's just do this.
Do we only have one QB?
Yes.
We could have taken Kirk Cousins there, and I think it would have been perfectly logical.
Yes, but we're getting buried in this sneaky wide receiver avalanche that came out of nowhere, and we're having to recover.
See, I don't mind when that happens sometimes because that means that's when you get one of your training camp news lineups where it's like Kene and Nwagnu at running back. When you get Wandale Robinson, who's starting at wide receiver, apparently for the Giants. You get your Daniel Bellinger at tight end. You could get all these guys, Pete, that we have an information advantage. I don't mind the wide receiver avalanches as much as I think as you do, despite the fact that obviously we are missing out on more elite talent.
Well, I mean, what's your plan at wide receiver? Is it the Q? Because that's who would be available for us if we didn't prioritize this avalanche scenario.
I mean, would you hate getting to share TJ Vasher at this point? He's 6'6", Pete.
I mean, look, I'll say it. What if TJ Vasher is the guy you need this year? What if?
It's not going to be Kavante Turpin because he's too short.
It also because he's not in the player pool is going to have a big part of that.
It's a big part of it. But the thing is, like, I think if you work the draft rooms late, like right now in this particular window of time where information is still kind of shoddy, you can get your Alec Pierces, you can get your George Pickens, you can get your Dubs, you can get your TJ Vashers, you get all these guys late that you just didn't get enough exposure to. I don't mind when a build works out like that.
Did you just do that entire rant just so you could say TJ Vasher at the end of it?
I mean, I do think there's a lot of value now in the 140 to 200 wide receiver range. I will say that, I think it's not a bad spot to be like a 0 RB guy because you could then spam running backs for a while, go back to wide receiver, and then close it out spamming some more wide receiver or some more running backs rather.
Someone do this tweet. You're drafting the wrong Dalton on the Cowboys right now. Dalton Schoen is a free agent, but if we read through the tea leaves, he should be signing with the Cowboys any minute.
I mean, that's their hedge there. I mean, Dalton Schultz is only on a franchise tag. He could be gone. Dalton Schoen, they could be building up in the back end, just ready to take that spot.
So some of our new ADP data points here. Deshaun Watson did go in the 9th round of this draft. Julio Jones going in the 11th round at pick 130. It's a new landscape.
That's tough, man. Like Deshaun Watson now going with guys who are theoretically going to play all the games this year. Like, would you rather have Dak? I'd rather have Dak, I think. And I probably would rather have Kirk Cousins.
I definitely would rather have Dak. I think I'd prefer Watson over Cousins. I just think with the rushing, he's going to give you just a higher ceiling than Cousins can.
That's fair. I think it's my Justin Jefferson obsession. I think Justin Jefferson is the guy who breaks fantasy this year. I know it's not crazy because he's going to the top 5, so whatever, top 3 usually.
Would you say along with Vasher, he could be the guy you need?
I mean, if they were on the same team, imagine that stack. But he could be a Justin Jefferson, TJ Vasher lineup. I feel like as live as anybody to be the first splash play $1 million winner.
Yeah, I can't wait to get auto drafted TJ Vasher. Let's see. What do we want to do here? Quarterback, definitely a big tier break just went, although we could get Jameis Winston with our next pick. We could build out our
discount Madison. I wouldn't mind with our Minnesota bet.
With our Minnesota, sure.
Unless we're going to do Nwagnu late, which I'm not opposed to because I'm still deeply terrified Madison's going to get cut and then he's the backup.
I mean, this rumor, Spags, the way these get burrowed in your brain here.
I'm terrified, man. Every report, and again, it was Arif. We know Arif. I didn't follow up with Arif and go hey, what's going on with Kenny and Nwagnu? I need to know. But he was Nwagnu looks like he's jumping off the page. And I think he said it in multiple articles now in The Athletic. So we know Arif does this show and he's as sharp as anybody. So connect the dots, Pete.
I'm excited to get Arif back on. That's one of the most fun annual shows we do.
Yeah, we got it this year too. I think we can bring back Ian if we wanted to, and Eric Eager from PFF because we've softened the shores with that relationship. So I'm happy about that.
You want to do Winston here with our New Orleans and Philly? Then we can
I think that makes sense.
Be done at quarterback.
Jameis looking healthy in camp so far. I got to say, I do wish we had gotten Olave. I don't think it would have been possible with where we were drafting, but Olave, I feel like he and Thomas are a nice pair because I feel like I could see their good games ping-ponging back and forth.
Yeah, and I wasn't excited about the Michael Thomas pick, but I'd rather, double down on that bet. If Thomas outperforms his ADP there, and I think you can debate whether he will, Winston has to be coming along for the ride in that scenario. So I'm happy to kind of open ourselves up to more Michael Thomas variants with the Winston pick.
Actually, Pete, can you pull up Willis's chat there about having an athletic subscription because of Arif? Because I want to pull. We do so many things here. I do my backhanded compliments. I think you, if you are watching this stream, should be subs to the Athletic. And if you are subbing to the Athletic, go to Arif Hassan's profile. He's at Arif Hassan NFL. Use his promo code to go sign up for the Athletic because it's worth your time. We love Arif, and I really would say like you got to have the Athletic right now. I think they're doing a tremendous job. Follow your local beat writers too, but like I follow that and I feel so much smarter for reading every article. And sure, I skip over Pete the offensive line and defensive line parts of every single training camp report.
We all do.
Like,
we all do.
I
This
love
is a
those
safe
guys.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, Arif is just such a smart guy, and everybody athletic is like an Arif. And I think it's worth the money you pay, $70 a year or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I literally, it sounds like we're doing an Athletic ad read. I assure you, we do not get any money from Big Athletic, but I just renewed my sub as well. It used to be one of my bits that I would only read the lead on the Athletic before the paywall kicked in. Then Pat gave me gifted me a 2-week sub. They were doing something like that where I had to put in my credit card, forgot to cancel, then became a sub. And then I've just been auto renewing since, because it is, I mean, the amount of the reliable blurbs and stuff coming out, I mean, they're almost 60-70% all sourced directly to the Athletic at this point too. So it's almost a must if you're doing any kind of news grinding like we are.
Yeah, and then another unbiased take, you should go to footballoutsiders.com/subscribe and also pay for what they're doing. Football Outsiders Almanac is a great read going on right now that you can bring it to the beach with you like I'm doing this week. Just read it. But also we're doing a lot of great stuff. We have some interesting contributors coming up too that I think we're going to add that perhaps went viral this weekend, hopefully. So I'm excited for somebody.
Wow, what a tease. Yeah. Wait, is this, you're saying they went viral and then you said, we need you, and reached out to them?
No, before actually. I was reaching out to this guy. I was like, oh, fuck, we might not be able to get him as a contractor now because he's got 300 likes in this tweet with that underdog is doing something nice for him.
Okay, so you could just say Tom.
I love Tom. I think Tom Strachan is very smart. We're figuring out the details, but I think we're going to have Tom on Football Outsiders this year. So
honestly, we could sidestep that, but honestly, a super cool story for those of you guys who don't know. Tom lives in the UK, does a ton of underdog content, really sharp dude, can't draft. God bless Underdog. If I couldn't draft, I'm sorry, I wouldn't be making this content. I couldn't do it. The fact that he is able to do that. And so Rudman and the team reach out to him. They're going to fly him out to New York, put him up for a few days, give him some tour of the office, and let him just absolutely blast off on a bunch of drafts, register for a bunch of slows. Super cool story there. Underdog making the dreams come true. Let's see here. We could do Corey Davis, another Jets bet.
I don't mind it. I mean, a lot of positive reports on Corey Davis. I know Khalil Herbert's always there for you too, because you don't ever draft David Montgomery. But Corey Davis, I feel like we don't draft a lot on this show, I would say.
No. And then I think too, we could potentially grab Noah Fant as our tight end too. And then also we could leave open the door if we did want to do a QB3 with Zach Wilson if he falls. I got Zach Wilson at pick 200 in my Best Ball Mania 3 draft this morning.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I've really been trying to not do 3 QB builds, even, obviously the Drew Lock jokes aside, if you're ever going to take Drew Lock at this point, take him to 3 QB build. But we got both Jets receivers who are pretty good and seems like positive vibes. So I think this is one case where you could take Zach Wilson. What are you thinking here?
So Noah Fant goes. That tilts me. I don't know why I said that out loud. Paris Campbell is the other receiver in this range, or McKenzie. I'm good with either of those.
Do we need a second tight end? I feel like maybe Evan Ingram, because it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah, we could do Evan Ingram. Yeah, otherwise, you're right. Evan Ingram probably. Oh, hang on. Oh, did I get it? Oh, we were so close to TJ Vassar. I was flying so close to the sun on that one.
We could have also gotten Taysom Hill, I guess. That would have been a nice hedge, though. He's hurt. His ribs are banged up in camp, I saw.
Yeah. I haven't been drafting a lot of Ingram, and not because I've been going out of my way not to, but thank you for the suggestion. I think that was fine.
Yeah, I think we just needed a tight end who's decent. Evan Ingram had a lot of drops early in Jacksonville camp from what I was reading, but still is getting targeted in Jacksonville camp, so I'm going to take that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of had a luxury pick there. If we wanted to do a 3 QB or 3 tight end build, we could have. I think there were, if we pass on that, if we go Campbell, I think we could do Andrews with, like you said, Taysom Hill and another dart throw at the end. I've been tossing in Greg Dulcich and Trey McBride a decent bit in some of my punt tight end builds now, just kind of thinking through the upside scenarios there. But yeah, I think this kind of freezes up if we do want to do the Zach Wilson double stack. I think we still can.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Honestly, we built a nice little team here. Like, it's tough on the streams. Like, I've definitely noticed it more when doing the solo streams, but I think we built a unique but pretty decent upside team, and we can still take a Ravens receiver in the 18th. Like, we have a lot of flexibility here, or we could just take TJ Vasher and live up to all the hype that that's been building over the course of this hour.
I know. I can't really tell if the momentum, if this is, Chekhov's Vasher, or if this is just the ultimate rug pull.
Pete, I think you need to be a Vasher smasher. It needs to be one of your brands.
I don't know why, but I need to bonk you for that.
Just don't get distracted in your football career if TJ Vasher is giving you that sweet bussy.
Stop it. Get me out of this.
About a whole other vibe standing up, Pete.
It's nice to know that even though we have more people watching a Splash Play stream than usual, that Spags is still incapable of being anything but his true horny self, and that's why we love you, Spags.
Thank you, Pete. You know what? I'm excited to enter season 3 of Splash Play, which is baffling.
Season 3 of Splash Play. Yes, it probably shouldn't have happened. Every day we keep waiting to get canceled in some form or another.
I'm excited. This is the one show I will give us the plug here that if you're following Splash Play for best ball drafts, we are doing football year round. That is one thing that Pete and I realized was a hole in the space. So we do best ball drafts, we do DFS, we do betting, we have our guests on to do ride or die picks every week. I think we are ready to be in the season form. Pete, are you feeling ready for the season? Because I think I've never been more prepared information wise for a season.
Football wise, I'm ready for the season. I have lots of moving parts with moving and getting into my new place. And yes, and we're doing so many drafts over on Ship Chasing. So August is going to be incredibly busy for me, but yes, I'm excited for it. I just need to get settled, and then I'll be able to let my hair down, so to speak.
When do you go to Vegas?
That's right before the season. So it's that opening kickoff game is on that Thursday. We fly out the Wednesday night right before that game, Bills Rams.
Got it. Okay. So Pete and Crane informally invited me to come to Vegas in general. It's not going to happen this year, but I just want to know for the future, because I'm not going to let you get away with not ever hanging out in person at some point, Pete, because it's going to be, I'm sure that's what you've been waiting for all this time. Pete and I have never met in person. I feel like we need to say to the podcast audience sometimes.
I know I've been I hadn't met Leone ever in person until this past trip to Colorado a couple weeks ago. So yeah, you're the next white whale. Shucks, I haven't met Spags.
Dress. Zach Wilson.
Yeah, let's just do the 3 QB here with Zach Wilson.
I like it. So wait, what's the bye weeks on the QBs? Hold on, go up for a sec.
14,
okay,
10.
Okay. So we got 2 10s. All right, that's fine.
Yeah. He's a 10, but he has the same bye week as the other 10.
That's a meme. I feel like you haven't been on as much as I would have thought.
Can I? I'm trying to workshop this on its feet. He's a 10, but the other quarterback also has a week 10 bye.
We're on the clock here, Pete. We could still take Taysom if we want to do a 3 tight end, 3 QB.
No, come on. We have one. We need a Baltimore receiver. Which are you on? Duvernay, Proche, Wallace.
Proche apparently doesn't drop passes according to The Athletic, which you should get a sub through Arif Hassan for. So James Proche, I'm on board with.
All right, let's do Proche.
I've been taking a little bit of when I'm just like blocked out of everything stack wise. Isaiah Likely apparently so this is where we're digging deep here. Another lowly drafted rookie tight end for Baltimore, but he's been playing a lot of 2 tight end sets for Baltimore. So could kind of siphon away from Mark Andrews. So I take him late. I know we had a lot of positive profiles from the Senior Bowl on him, and he actually liked one of the tweets we had at Football Outsiders showing a sick catch he had at the Senior Bowl. So I have a soft spot, but he's been like in every camp report for Baltimore. Like they think Likely looks really good. I wouldn't draft Nick Boyle at all. If you were doing that, I think Likely is going to take that job.
He's a 10, but he still references the Senior Bowl in August.
P, we're going to be at the Senior Bowl next year. We have to make friends. You're not going to. It's going to be a month after you have a child. You're not. There's no chance of you doing the Senior Bowl.
No. I already got my 1 hall pass trip, and it's out to the Super Bowl with Underdog in January, and then back to being a father. Some of us are not going to neglect our paternal duties
Oh
like
yeah,
other
my
guys I know.
oh my god, Pete! If you've noticed my mental state for the last 4.5 months, you can tell I'm an active father, an active parent. So Luca's at the beach right now, just having a good time, wearing his little
Yeah,
beach
where
hat.
are I didn't even get your what beach are you at?
We're in Ocean City, Maryland right now because of a misbooking by my mother-in-law. Actually, Pete, if you want to pull up these pics, I'm going to text you 2 little pics of Luca. He's adorable. So I'm going to send it to you. And if you want to pull it up on the screen so we can see Luca in his little beach hat.
Okay, hang on. Let's I'll
Actually,
pull
this
this
one's
up at
better. The
the
second one I'm sending you is better.
Okay. I feel like you should there's now a genre of NFL content, I believe pioneered by Warren Sharp, where you do your vacation at the beach and you shoot like some TikToks and some stuff. You should get like he does his Sharp football guide. You could have the Football Outsiders almanac out there. I really do think there's untapped vacation football content that people really like to see.
I mean, Pete knows as well as anybody. I don't like missing shows. Like that's one of the things that I will refuse to do, especially at this point of the home stretch of football season. So I'm up to do it. The thing is, like, I just don't have that grinding repertoire like Warren Sharp. People think, in
Let me
fact, I'm
see. I'll show you
incredibly
that
good.
this is exactly what I'm talking about here. I'll show you this Warren Sharp content, what
Sure.
I have in my head. So you scroll down here. He's like at the beach. He's got his floral shirt on here, going 2021 easiest schedule. It's like, it's such a psych out because you think he's just going to be like, oh, yeah, beautiful views, enjoying my vacation. He's like, no, fuck it. Broncos have the easiest schedule out of the gate, 2-6 for his playoff, dude. It's such a great bait and switch.
So you think should I do that this week just as a bit? Because I'll do it. I'll do it just for the bit equity.
You should. You
Okay,
absolutely
I'll do it.
should.
I'll do it. So
Did
follow
you
me at
bring
Chris
any
Spags
fun
on TikTok.
shirts? Do you have any fun?
I don't have any fun floral shirts now. Maybe I could get one
Oh.
at one of the shitty beach stores.
I think you should, because that's really what sells it. Because the beach isn't enough to convince me that you're on vacation. You really need to scream it. I need to be able to look at your shirt and say, Spags, that was a choice. And it was a choice you made. And I pick up what you're laying down.
The vibe is fat party guy in college wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Also, what happened to the draft? Were we drafted TJ Vasher or what?
No, the chat is upset. We cannot do a 4 running back build here with Brees Hall, Dobbins, Edmonds, and Madison. I do think this needs to be a 5 running back build. The Vassar dream has died. I'm removing the queue. It's over.
Also, I don't think the photos of Luca went through, Pete, but I want to show how adorable this baby is.
Yeah, Bullock also understands that you're a white dad on a beach vacation without a floral cert. We're unsubbing. Willis saying, like, spoken from true experience here, you can 100% get a shirt like that at a beach store. Do it, Spags. You owe this community an absurd floral shirt. Hopefully there's like a knockoff Tommy Bahamas somewhere around you.
All right, just sent you another text of Luca looking cute in a beach hat, Pete.
All right, none
Luca's
of these
a dad
texts have
now
been coming in, Spags. I'm not just ghosting you. Oh, I just got one.
Yeah, there you go.
One
I sent it
just
from my
came
phone.
through.
It said it wasn't coming from desktop. I think if you send a photo, because Pete's an Android boy, so whenever you send it on your desktop, it gets weird.
I am an Android boy, and I have my texts on the computer like a true Android. All right, here's baby Luca at the beach. Very
Look
cute.
at this guy.
Stay away from my unborn daughter, Luca. Stay far, far away.
Look how tantalizing he is, though. Imagine getting that in the overs at gene pool. Wouldn't that be pretty great?
Just stop. I will literally, just even the mere reference of that is the most triggering thing. As a father, I will make it my life's mission to keep my unborn daughter away from anyone related to Spags. I don't care if this is like 7 degrees of separation.
What if Luca has a Hawaiian shirt?
No.
Okay. Well,
No.
fair enough.
Let's see. What running back are we going to take here as our 5th running back? Let's get funky.
Tyler Beatty.
I mean, I don't want to know. Do we want to do a little hand cucking here on a wonderful?
Oh, I guess we do have
Monday
Dobbins. I
afternoon?
forgot we had Dobbins. He's such a discount. Breida, I never mind. We took Barkley. No, we didn't take Barkley. Take Breida.
Okay, let's do Breida. I wanted to get something off the beaten path here.
Yeah.
All right. It is done. The team, we got buried by the wide receiver avalanche, had to recover. We're going to need a miracle for this team, but TTP, trust the process.
A fun puppy draft here, of course. Play for yourself over on Underdog. Use the promo code SPLASH to double your deposit up to $100. The puppy $1 million prize pool, $200K up top on that one. So it's a really good tournament to play. If you are $5 150 max, or anybody really just playing a $5 entry. Pete, what are the plugs for you? What's randomizer? What's serious? Give me all the plugs. You got a lot of plugs.
Yeah, lots of plugs, lots of plugs. If you want more best ball content, did a Best Ball Mania 3 stream this morning. You can find that on my channel. I'm going to draft another Puppy 3 team tomorrow on the Fantasy Life live YouTube channel with Kendall Valenzuela, who Spags mentioned is also my co-host on the Sirius shows. We're doing those Sundays, 5 to 7 p.m. if you are a Sirius XM sub. Newsletter ripping every day. Randomizer guest this week is PFF's Ian Hartitz. He's a randomizer Hall of Famer. Excited to get him back in the mix. Karain is streaming his Pros vs. Joe's draft tonight on ship chasing. We are going to do puppy content with Bime 4 on ship chasing on Wednesday. So content all around, Spags. It is the season.
And Pete and I will be back on Thursday in the same luxurious setup from Motion City, Maryland. I will have my solo stream on Friday, so make sure you subscribe to the Splash Play channel because we are grinding on there, and I'm going to be fucking streaming my ass off down the home stretch because I got 47 drafts a week to hit, guys. So we appreciate all of you hanging out. Follow at Peter Rivers, follow at Chris Spags, and follow at Splash Play Pod. We appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. See you guys on Thursday. Bye.